I am feeling embarrassed. Oh my god. About sitting here and recording this. But I just watched American Fiction. I really like it. But how do you talk about it without committing the crimes that it's commenting on? Right? I have thoughts, but it's hard to word them together when you feel you're being looked at by random people. I can say I liked how self-aware it is. It's a writer writing about a writer. I'm not coming across that clearly, I feel, but now I'm also going blank. Wow. I like the ending. It's very obviously on the nose. It's how is this supposed to end? He's talking to someone about how the story should end. It's so meta and was charming, I felt. I think what was really poignant was that the liberal, almost leftist white lady in the writing judge, right? The white woman was very clearly on the white people's side, while in some sense posturing to be an ally of some kind. The whole thing, right? But especially poignant was we should listen to black voices, and the room's clearly split up into the white people that like it and the black people that don't. And I can't get all of the nuances from the conversation between Sintara and Monk, especially there when they're talking about their books. But I found it to be smart. I found it to be engaging. I really like the question of, is it so bad to sell what people are asking for? Or is it empty, and what's so bad with writing empty things? And especially poignant was when she said, I think your problem is then with white people, not with me. The literature itself might stand on its own, and he didn't read it. So we don't actually know if he knows the context for why he's judging it. He's just hearing this very, very, at least, I can even say that it seems to me like an over-exaggerated, black voice, when she was reading it out. But he has no idea what the context was for her saying that, within the book. But Monk also has a great observation in that white people will see or read the book and believe that that is all that they are. Minorities or marginalized communities. There's a thing about, because you see so few of them and because you hear so few of them, each person becomes a representative for the whole community. And Sintara correctly points out that that's a criticism of the culture, and specifically of white culture, and not of her book. Because honestly, it's completely possible that Sintara wrote the book with integrity. Monk judged her too quickly and wrote exactly what he was criticizing, because obviously he did. He hates the fact that he wrote fuck. But he believes that that's what Sintara was doing, and we don't know. And that's just one of the things I find smart about it, that it's left to interpretation, and that then the writer critiques that Hollywood doesn't like when things are up for interpretation. is that we don't know what he says. We don't know how people took it. We don't really know if he completely sold out in quotes. And we don't know if Sintara wrote with dignity. And dignity. See, that's the whole thing. It's like, he even says it. It's like the writer speaking to the audience, but it's about a writer. It didn't feel condescending, which is something I really enjoyed about it. And it's self-aware about the choice to not be condescending. It doesn't have a specific moral of the story, and the characters almost say that to the audience, but I didn't feel talked to. It felt witty, like some sort of inside joke. It's a bad way to phrase it, but I enjoyed those aspects of the movie. I didn't feel as much as I could about the personal aspects of it. I'll come to think of it, the idea of, white liberalism being offended at things that black people go through every day gets set up at the beginning. The idea of not listening to black voices ish. I was actually very skeptical at first because it seemed almost like, because I didn't know going into it, I didn't know what I was going to watch. But when I first saw the scene in the classroom, and you have this white woman with green hair that's offended at something, and then the hard facts don't care about your feelings professor makes an okay-ish observation that he had to live with it and it's relevant, so we're gonna meet it and we're gonna go into it. I had a feeling that maybe the writer might have been one of those facts don't care about your feelings, like get wrecked liberal type of stories, but then the story showed him to be an asshole, and so I started getting hooked because I was like, okay, maybe that's not what's happening, because the story's not portraying the main character Monk to be this savior, this almighty, infallible character, and it proved to be correct. I mean, there are a bunch of nuances that I don't have the ability to analyze, but that I enjoyed seeing laid out in front of me. I think that's the main thing that I want to say about it, is that I found it entertaining in it sounds pretentious, but intellectually stimulating way. I wish they would almost have delved more into the ideas, like the conflict of ideas within the story. That it gets laid out the most in between Sintara and Monk, but it's also laid out in Monk's internal conflict and his conflict with his writer. I think Wiley is his name. That was the most interesting part of the story for me, and I wish they had doubled down more on that, because I found that most compelling. But half of it is also just presenting ideas in a story. I don't know. I just wasn't as compelled about his personal life. I really related to Monk and his sister's dynamic. I felt the connection there, and by them mentioning that they never do that, it felt like a breath of fresh air after hard times. And then she dies and it's just taken away. That was heart-wrenching, but it's like in a numb way, where I am left wanting more as a viewer. And there is something very real about that. Sometimes things are too late, but that's not the core of it. I feel like a lot of things are just laid out, and that's just what it is, and it's terrible, but that's just what it is. god, turbulence right now. Jesus. A lot of it. Well, we're gonna die. Damn. We are over Mandela. And I need a piss, so this is not practical. I mean, tighten my seatbelt. I might want to watch it again. I would definitely recommend watching it. It's a smart and entertaining movie. I guess that's all I had to say.